Tonight, we begin something soft and slow. This story is for quiet listening, for peaceful breathing, for the calm space between waking and sleep. Here on Mindlepic, we sometimes step away from loud history. The kings, the battles, the great events, and instead we look at the small things, the ordinary things, the things that almost no book writes about. Before we begin, I wonder, where are you listening from tonight? What country are you in? What city is slowly becoming quiet around you? Maybe it is late evening where you are, maybe early morning. Maybe the air outside your window is cool. Maybe it is warm and still. Wherever you are, let us gently travel now, far back in time, not to a castle, not to a battlefield, but to a small medieval village. It is early morning, very early. The sky is not yet bright. It is a soft, gray blue, like faded cloth that has been washed many times. The stars are slowly disappearing. A thin mist lies low over the open fields beyond the village. There is no sound of traffic, no distant hum of machines, no glowing lights from windows, only quiet. The village is small, perhaps 30 homes, maybe 40. They are built from wood, mud, and straw. The roofs are thick with thatch. Some walls lean slightly, not from weakness, but from years of wind and rain shaping them gently. A narrow dirt path runs through the center of the village. It is uneven. Small stones press into the earth. In wet weather, it becomes soft and muddy, but today it is dry. A thin line of smoke begins to rise from one of the homes. Inside that home, a woman named Elswythe is awake. History books will never mention her name. No record will remain. But she is real in this moment. She opens her eyes slowly. There is no clock, no alarm. She wakes because her body is used to this rhythm. For years, she has risen before sunrise. Her small house is dim. Light barely touches the room. The air is cool. She sits up carefully so she does not wake the others. On the other side of the room, 2 children sleep under thick wool blankets. Near the wall, her husband still rests, breathing slowly. The fire in the hearth is low now. Only soft orange embers remain. Elswythe moves quietly. Her bare feet touch the packed earth floor. It is cool, but she is used to that. She wraps a simple wool shawl around her shoulders and kneels by the hearth. Very gently, she blows on the embers. A faint glow grows brighter. She adds small pieces of dry wood. Not too much, just enough. A small flame begins to rise. The sound is soft. Tiny cracks and whispers of burning wood. This is how her day begins. Not with noise, not with urgency, but with careful tending. Outside, the first bird begins to call. It is not loud, just a small, simple note. Soon another answers, and then another. The village is waking, but slowly. A few homes away, an older man named Tomlin is also awake. He is the village baker. His work begins before everyone else's. He steps outside into the cool morning air. The ground is damp with dew. He breathes in deeply. The smell of earth and smoke fills his lungs. His bakery is not a separate building. It is a larger stone oven built beside his home. The oven must be heated long before the bread can bake. He begins stacking wood inside. Carefully, steadily. He has done this for decades. There is something peaceful in repetition. He strikes flint to spark the fire. Soon, a stronger flame fills the oven chamber. He sits on a wooden stool nearby and waits. There is no rush. Bread takes time. Fire takes time. Morning takes time. Back inside her home, Elswythe mixes coarse flour with water in a wooden bowl. The flour is rough, not soft like modern flour. It still holds tiny bits of grain shell. Her hands move slowly, pressing and folding. Press and fold. Press and fold. It is quiet work. She hums softly, almost without thinking. The children begin to stir. One turns under the blanket. The other sighs. Her husband shifts, then slowly sits up. No one speaks at first. There is no need. Mourning in a medieval village does not begin with conversation. It begins with movement, with small sounds, with breath. Outside, light slowly touches the tops of the thatched roofs. The mist begins to thin. In the distance, beyond the village homes, fields stretch wide. Narrow strips of farmland are divided carefully. Each family works its own portion. The soil has been turned recently. Dark lines mark where seeds were planted days ago. A dog trots quietly across the path. Somewhere, a wooden door creaks open. A woman steps out carrying a bucket. She walks toward the well at the center of the village. The well is made of stone, worn smooth by years of hands and rope. She lowers the bucket carefully. The rope makes a soft sliding sound. Water echoes below. She pulls it back up slowly. There is no hurry. There is only the steady rhythm of daily life. The sun now rises gently over the horizon. Not bright, not dramatic, just a soft, golden light spreading slowly across the fields. Children step outside their homes. They rub their eyes. They carry small sticks. One begins poking at the dirt, drawing simple shapes. No one rushes them. They have small responsibilities, yes, but mornings still feel wide and open. Tomlin the baker now checks his oven. The inside stones glow with heat. He prepares simple round loaves. He scores the tops with a small knife. Not for decoration, but so the bread will rise properly. He places them carefully inside the oven using a long wooden paddle. Then he waits. He wipes his brow, though the day is still cool. The smell of baking bread begins to spread slowly into the air. It drifts between homes. It mixes with morning smoke. It becomes part of the village's quiet awakening. In another home, a young girl named Aveline carries scraps of vegetable peel to the pigs. Kept behind her family's house, the pigs grunt softly. She tosses the scraps gently. She does not mind this chore. She watches the animals with quiet curiosity. Animals are part of daily life here. Chickens scratch the ground nearby. A goat bleats softly. Life moves in small circles. There are no newspapers, no loud announcements, no distant news of kings or wars reaching this place today. Only work, only food, only weather, only the simple question: what needs tending today? The blacksmith will open his small forge later this morning. The weaver will sit by her doorway, letting light fall on her loom. The farmer will walk his field rows, checking the soil. None of them expect greatness. None of them expect history to remember them. And yet, this is the true shape of medieval life. Quiet, repetitive, gentle in its own way. As the sun climbs higher, the village is fully awake now. Smoke rises from many homes. Voices are still soft. Someone laughs briefly. Then silence again. A cartwheel creaks slowly as a man prepares to carry sacks of grain. Toward a nearby larger town, the air smells of bread, wood smoke, damp soil, and animals. There is no perfume, no polished stone streets, no shining armor, just earth and cloth and wood, and time, always time moving gently forward. If you pause here in your imagination, you might notice how nothing dramatic has happened. No sudden events, no loud moments, just ordinary life unfolding. And that is the part history often ignores. The thousands of quiet mornings, the countless simple chores, the steady turning of seasons, the soft rhythm of breath and fire and field. The church bell in the small stone chapel rings once, not loudly, just enough to mark the morning. It does not demand attention. It simply reminds the village. The day has begun, and so it has, slowly, gently, without hurry. Tonight, as you rest, You can imagine this village continuing its simple work. The baker tending his oven, Elswith shaping dough, children walking barefoot across cool earth, smoke rising into pale sky. If you feel relaxed here with Mind Lepic, you can like if you want. You can subscribe if you feel it helps you relax even more. There is no pressure, only quiet stories waiting for you. The morning light now rests fully across the village. The mist that once covered the fields has lifted. In its place, a soft, golden brightness spreads over the earth. The roofs glow gently. The narrow dirt path through the center of the village becomes warm beneath the growing sun. Elswith steps outside her home, carrying the shaped dough on a wooden board. A light cloth covers the rounds to protect them from dust. She walks carefully toward Tomlin's oven. Other villagers are doing the same. Bread is often baked together in one large oven. It saves wood. It saves time. It creates quiet moments of shared presence. No one speaks loudly. There are nods, small smiles, a few soft greetings. Good morning. Peaceful sky today. Looks like dry weather. These words are not dramatic. They are not important to history, but they are important to the rhythm of the day. Tomlin stands beside the oven, his hands dusted with flour. He accepts each loaf and places it inside with steady movements. The heat brushes against his face, but he is used to it. His arms move with slow confidence. Inside the oven, the loaves begin to rise. The smell deepens. It becomes richer now, heavier, comforting. A young boy lingers nearby, watching the oven door. He enjoys the waiting. There is something magical about dough turning into bread, something warm and certain. Nearby, Aveline kneels beside a small basket of eggs collected that morning. She wipes each one gently with a dry cloth. She arranges them carefully. None must crack. Eggs are valuable. The village, becomes busier now. 2 women pull water in turns. The rope creaks softly. The bucket splashes below. When it rises, droplets fall back down in shining lines. They carry the water in wooden pails balanced against their hips. Water is heavy, but their steps are steady. Children gather near the edge of the path. One holds a simple wooden toy carved by his father. Another carries a small bundle of sticks to add to the home fire. Even their play feels quiet, as if the morning itself encourages calm movement. Farther out in the fields, men and women begin walking toward their narrow strips of land. Some carry wooden hoes, others carry small sacks of seed. A few guide oxen slowly forward. The oxen move at an unhurried pace. Their large hooves press deep into the soil. Leather harnesses creak gently with each step. There is no shouting, only low guiding voices. The fields are not wide-open plains. They are divided into long strips. Each family works its own section, but they are never fully alone. They can see each other across the rows. They can hear faint movement. The sense of community stretches quietly over the land. Elswith returns home while her bread bakes. Inside, she begins another task. She sits by the doorway where light enters and pulls a basket of wool onto her lap. The wool was washed days ago in the stream beyond the village. It has dried in the wind. Now it must be spun into thread. She takes the drop spindle and begins to twist. Twist and pull. Twist and pull. The fibers stretch into long strands. This motion is slow and patient. It cannot be rushed. If she pulls too fast, the thread will break. If she twists too loosely, it will fall apart. So she moves carefully. Her fingers know the right pressure. Her breathing becomes steady. Outside, a faint tapping begins from the direction of the blacksmith's forge. The blacksmith, a broad man with patient eyes, has opened his wooden shutters. Sunlight falls across his anvil. He pumps the bellows slowly, feeding air into the coals. The metal glows faintly. He is not making weapons today. He shapes horseshoes, nails, hinges, small items that keep daily life moving. Tap, pause, tap, pause. The sound travels softly across the village. It is not sharp or alarming. It becomes part of the background rhythm. Back at the oven, Tomlin removes the first batch of bread. The crusts are dark and firm. Steam escapes when he lifts them out. He places them on a wooden table to cool. The villagers step forward one by one to collect their loaves. Elswyth receives hers with quiet thanks. The warmth passes into her hands. It feels steady and comforting. She carries it home carefully. Inside, she slices the bread with a simple knife. The inside is dense and slightly coarse. She sets pieces onto a wooden board. A small pot of porridge sits near the fire, slowly thickening. Her husband enters from outside, brushing dirt from his hands. They eat together without hurry. The children sit cross-legged on the floor. There is chewing, soft conversation, a simple plan for the day. After the meal, the village spreads out into its separate rhythms. In the fields, seeds are pressed into soil. Hands move methodically. Backs bend. The sun climbs higher, warming shoulders and necks. Sweat appears slowly, but the air still carries a coolness from the early hours. Clouds drift lazily overhead. They are thin and pale. No sign of rain yet. Near the stream beyond the village, two women kneel on flat stones to wash clothing. They dip fabric into water and scrub with ash soap. The water flows gently past them, carrying small leaves and reflections of sky. Their conversation is soft and steady. They speak of small things. A new calf born last week, a torn sleeve that needs mending, the taste of this year's grain. They laugh once, briefly. The sound blends with the moving water. At midday, the church bell rings again. Not urgent, just marking time. The workers in the fields straighten their backs. Some sit under the edge of a tree's shadow. They unwrap small cloth bundles of food. Bread, onions, maybe a bit of cheese if the family has some. They eat slowly. No one rushes back to work. Time in this village is not counted in minutes. It is counted in light and shadow, in the position of the sun, in the feeling of hunger and fullness. Back in the village center, the blacksmith cools a finished horseshoe in a bucket of water. Steam rises in a sudden white cloud. It disappears quickly into the air. He wipes his forehead with the back of his arm and steps outside for a moment. He watches the sky. He listens to distant field sounds. He feels the ground beneath his boots. This pause is small, but it matters. Aveline now sits beside her mother, learning to mend a small tear in a wool tunic. The needle moves in and out, in and out. The thread pulls tight. Her small fingers are still learning patience. Her mother guides her hand gently. "There," she whispers. Slowly. The goat nearby chews lazily on grass. Chickens scratch in the dust, creating tiny clouds that settle back down almost immediately. The afternoon grows warmer. In the fields, work continues. Rows lengthen. Soil shifts. Birds circle above looking for insects stirred from the earth. A cart from a neighboring village passes slowly along the outer path. The wheels creak. The driver raises a hand in greeting but does not stop. Trade will happen later in the week. Nothing dramatic interrupts the day. No messenger arrives. No announcement changes the rhythm. The village remains wrapped in its own steady routine. As the sun begins its slow descent, shadows stretch longer across the ground. The heat softens. A breeze returns. Workers begin walking back toward their homes. Their steps are slower now, not from sadness, but from honest tiredness. Hands are dusty. Faces are warm. Clothes carry the scent of soil and grass. Elswyth steps outside again, shaking a small rug to clear it of dirt. Dust rises briefly and settles again. She looks down the path. and sees her husband returning from the fields. He carries his tools over his shoulder. There is no grand reunion, just shared understanding. The day has been steady. The day has been enough. Inside the homes, fires are stirred again. Pots are hung over flames. Simple evening meals begin to cook. The smell of boiling vegetables drifts into the air. Smoke rises in thin blue lines. Children's voices soften as they grow tired. A dog curls near a doorway. The blacksmith closes his shutters. The weaver rolls up her finished cloth. The baker scrapes ash from the oven floor and prepares it for tomorrow. The light turns golden, then amber. The sky deepens slowly toward evening, and the village exhales together, almost without knowing it. The evening settles gently over the village. The sun lowers itself behind the far line of trees, and the fields turn from gold to soft brown. The long shadows stretch, and then slowly dissolve into the growing dimness. The air cools in small degrees, almost too slowly to notice. Smoke from cooking fires rises straight upward now. The wind has grown calm. Inside Elsweith's home, the simple evening meal is nearly ready. A small pot of barley stew simmers over the fire. Carrots, onions, and a few leaves of cabbage float near the surface. The scent is mild and earthy. Her husband sits on a low wooden bench, sharpening a small hand tool with steady strokes of a stone. The scraping sound is soft and repetitive. Scrape, pause, scrape, pause. The children sit close to the hearth. One traces patterns in the dirt floor with a small stick. The other watches the flame flicker against the darkening walls. The room glows orange. There are no candles yet. Firelight is enough. When the stew is ready, Elsweith ladles it into wooden bowls. Steam rises gently. They sit close together and eat slowly. Outside, other homes are doing the same. Through open doorways, small points of firelight flicker in the growing dark. The village does not disappear when the sun sets. It simply becomes quieter. After the meal, Elsweith steps outside for a moment. The sky above her has changed completely now. It is deep blue, almost purple. The first stars begin to show. She stands still. No hurry. She listens. Somewhere nearby, a cow shifts in its enclosure. A rope pulls lightly against wood. Chickens rustle as they settle for the night. From farther away, she hears soft laughter from another home. It fades quickly. The church bell rings once more. This time, it sounds deeper in the evening air. It does not signal urgency. It simply marks the close of the working day. Tomlin, the baker, sits outside his home on a simple stool. His hands rest on his knees. The oven beside him is cooling slowly. The stones inside still hold warmth from the morning fire. He enjoys this hour most. The work is finished. The village is fed. Tomorrow will come, but not yet. He watches as Aveline runs across the path, chasing her shadow in the fading light. Her steps are light. Her laughter is brief and bright. Then she stops, suddenly aware that night is near. Her mother calls her softly. It is time to come inside. Inside their homes, villagers begin small evening tasks. Elsweith mends a loose seam on her husband's sleeve. The needle moves through cloth in careful rhythm. The fire pops quietly beside her. Her husband checks a small wooden chest where tools are kept. He counts them without speaking, making sure nothing is missing before the darkness deepens. The children grow quieter. One yawns. The other leans against their mother's shoulder. Outside, the last bit of color drains from the sky. The stars multiply now. Without lamps, without city lights, the sky feels wide and endless. It stretches far beyond the fields, beyond the forests, beyond anything the villagers have ever seen. The Milky Way appears faintly overhead, like a pale path across the darkness. No one in the village speaks of distant galaxies. They simply look up and feel small and calm beneath the sky. The temperature drops slightly. Doors begin to close. Wooden latches slide into place. Animals settle into stillness. The blacksmith banks the coals in his forge carefully, covering them so they will stay warm until morning. He moves slowly, respecting the fire that has worked with him all day. He washes his hands in a small basin of cool water. The water turns slightly gray from soot. He dries his hands on a rough cloth and steps inside. The weaver rolls up. Her looms threads and covers them with cloth to protect them from dust overnight. In the fields beyond the village, nothing moves now except the soft brushing of wind through tall grass. Back inside Elsweith's home, the children lie down under thick wool blankets. The fire burns lower. Only glowing embers remain. Elsweith sits for a few moments longer, watching the light fade. She listens to the breathing of her family. Slow, even, peaceful. Her husband lies beside the children, already drifting toward sleep. Outside, the village becomes almost silent. A distant owl calls once, then again. Somewhere far beyond the fields, perhaps a fox moves quietly through the brush. But the sound does not reach the homes. The night deepens. Elsweith finally lies down. The earth floor beneath the woven mats holds a faint warmth from the day. She pulls the blanket up to her chin. There are no clocks to measure the hour. Only darkness. Only stars. Only rest. And as sleep settles over the village, the day disappears without record. No one writes it down. No one preserves it in ink. It simply passes, like thousands of other gentle days. In the quiet of night, the village breathes together. Slowly, steadily, the fire in each home becomes a faint red glow. The stars move slowly overhead, and somewhere in that small medieval village, under the wide sky, another ordinary day ends without notice. The night does not remain silent forever. Somewhere in the deepest hours, long before the sun even begins to think about rising, the village rests in a soft darkness that feels thick and complete. Inside the homes, embers still glow faintly in hearths. They are small red eyes in the dark, breathing warmth into the rooms. Outside, frost settles lightly over the fields. The sky is clear. The stars feel closer at this hour. In Elsweith's home, everyone sleeps. But sleep in the medieval world is often lighter than we imagine. Without heavy curtains or sealed windows, the sounds of night are never fully shut out. A faint wind moves against the thatch roof. A wooden beam creaks softly as the air cools further. Elsweith stirs for a moment, not fully awake, just aware. She shifts beneath her blanket and listens. There is no danger, only quiet. Her breathing slows again. In another home, Tomlin, the baker, wakes briefly. Years of rising early have trained his body to sense the coming morning before it arrives. He opens his eyes in darkness. He does not move yet. He simply listens. He hears nothing but the soft hum of stillness. He closes his eyes once more. This is the slow turning of hours that history never mentions. The space between days. The invisible bridge between yesterday's labor and tomorrow's work. Time passes. No one counts it. Eventually, a pale softness begins to press against the horizon. It is not light yet, but it is no longer full night. The stars near the eastern edge begin to fade. The frost on the fields glitters faintly. A rooster, somewhere near the edge of the village, lifts its head and lets out a low call. Not loud, just enough. Another answers from farther away. Then silence returns for a few breaths. Inside her home, Elsweith's eyes open again. This time she stays awake. She lies still for a moment, feeling the cold air against her face. The fire has nearly gone out. She sits up quietly. Her joints feel stiff from the cool night. She wraps her shawl around her shoulders again and kneels beside the hearth. She pushes the ash gently aside. There, a faint red glow remains. Carefully, she adds dry straw, then a thin stick. She bends close and blows softly. The glow brightens. A small flame appears. It is the same movement as yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that. There is comfort in this repetition. Outside, the village begins its slow awakening again. But today feels slightly cooler. A thin layer of frost coats the edges of wooden fences. Footsteps on the ground make a faint, crunching sound. Tomlin steps outside with his bundle of firewood. His breath forms a pale cloud in front of him. He inhales deeply. Cold air fills his lungs. He does not complain. Cold mornings are part of the rhythm. He stacks the wood carefully in his oven. The sky slowly shifts from deep blue to soft gray. In the fields, the soil is firm with the night's chill. Farmers will wait a little longer before stepping into it. Frost makes the ground harder. Back inside the homes, small flames begin appearing one by one. From above, if anyone could see, it would look like tiny stars returning to Earth. Children remain under blankets a little longer this morning. The cold encourages stillness. Elsweith warms her hands over the growing flame. The crackle of wood becomes the first true sound of the day. Her husband turns slowly and sits up. He stretches his arms. The children murmur but do not rise yet. Outside, Aveline's mother steps toward the well, her shawl pulled tight around her shoulders. The rope feels stiff from cold. She lowers the bucket carefully. The water below is darker now, reflecting the pale sky. When she pulls the bucket up, the water feels icy against her fingers. She carries it back without hurry. In the distance, a thin layer of mist clings low over the fields once more. The seasons are turning slowly. Not fully winter, but not warm either. Time here is measured by these small changes: the thickness of air, the sharpness of morning, the length of shadow. Tomlin lights his oven again. The spark catches. The fire grows. Soon warmth radiates outward. Villagers who pass nearby feel it on their faces. They linger just a moment longer beside the bakery today. The smell of smoke blends with the cold air. Elsweith mixes flour again. Her hands move steadily despite the chill. The dough feels firmer this morning. She kneads it slowly. Press, fold, turn. The children finally rise and wrap themselves in rough wool tunics. They step outside and gasp at the cold ground beneath their feet. Then they laugh softly. Their breath forms small clouds too. In the fields, the farmers begin their walk once more. The frost begins to melt as the first true sunlight reaches it. Tiny droplets form on each blade of grass. They shine briefly, then disappear. The blacksmith opens his shutters and feels the cold metal of his tools. He rubs his hands together before beginning to pump the bellows. The coals glow slowly. It takes a little longer for the forge to warm today. Nothing dramatic changes. The village simply adjusts, adapts, breathes with the weather. By mid-morning, the frost has vanished completely. The sun rises higher. Warmth returns in small degrees. The rhythm continues. Bread bakes. Wool spins. Tools strike. Water lifts. Children wander. Voices remain soft. And another ordinary medieval morning unfolds, almost identical to the last, yet slightly different in the feel of the air. The village does not chase time. It moves with it, slowly, steadily, like a quiet current beneath everything. By the time the sun reaches its gentle height above the village, the cold edge of morning has softened completely. Warmth rests lightly over the rooftops. The damp earth begins to release a faint scent, something rich and steady that rises from the soil after frost has melted away. It is not a strong smell. It is quiet and grounding. In the fields, the farmers continue their patient work. Rows that were only partly turned yesterday are now more even. Wooden hoes move through the soil with slow strength. The oxen walk forward at their usual calm pace, guided by soft voices and light touches on their harness. There is no shouting, no sudden movement, only the sound of earth shifting. Tomlin removes another batch of bread from his oven. The crust cracks slightly as it cools. He sets the loaves on a wooden board outside, letting the air move around them. A young mother approaches with a small cloth sack. She exchanges a few dried beans for a loaf. There is no coin involved today. Trade is often simple here. She nods in thanks. He nods back. No long conversation is needed. Inside her home, Elswaith has finished spinning a full spindle of wool thread. She winds it carefully into a small skein and places it into a basket beside others she has made in recent weeks. Later, when enough thread has gathered, it will be dyed or woven. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is hurried. Aveline sits near the doorway with a wooden bowl in her lap. She is sorting dried peas, separating the small stones that sometimes hide among them. Her fingers move slowly, picking and placing. Beside her, her mother slices thin strips of cabbage to hang above the hearth for drying. Preserving food is a quiet art here. It happens day by day, small amounts at a time. The sun drifts a little westward. The church bell rings softly once again, marking the middle of the day. Workers in the fields straighten their backs. Some sit on overturned baskets. Others lean against wooden fences. They unwrap small meals. Bread, onions, a piece of cheese shared between two. They chew slowly, looking across the open land. A hawk circles far above, barely moving its wings. Clouds move lazily, thin and pale. The breeze is gentle now. Back in the village center, the blacksmith pauses his hammering. He dips a cup into a bucket of water and drinks deeply. A small trail of water escapes down his beard, but he does not notice. He rests in the shade of his doorway. Across from him, the weaver adjusts her loom. The threads stretch tight between wooden beams. She begins moving the shuttle through them, back and forth, back and forth. The fabric grows one careful line at a time. The motion is almost hypnotic. The afternoon stretches longer. Children wander near the edge of the village where the grass grows tall. They collect smooth stones and arrange them into small circles. One child finds a feather and studies it carefully, turning it in the light. No one rushes them back. There is trust in the slow rhythm of this place. Elswaith steps outside to shake flour from a cloth. It floats briefly in the air before settling on the ground. She looks toward the fields. She can see her husband working in the distance, a small figure against the wide land. She does not wave. He does not look up, but there is a quiet understanding between them. The day continues. In the far corner of the village, an older woman sits on a low stool, peeling turnips into a wooden bowl. Her hands are slower than they once were, but steady. She hums softly, a tune with no words. Her doorway remains open. Light falls across her lap. Dust motes drift through the air like tiny floating stars. Time here feels thick, not heavy, but full. Every hour contains simple actions repeated gently. The oxen are led back toward their enclosures as the sun lowers slightly. The soil has been worked enough for today. Tools are gathered. Shoulders stretch. Hands brush dirt from tunics. Back in the village, cooking begins again. Small fires are stirred. Water is poured into clay pots. Chopped vegetables drop in one by one. The smell of simmering broth slowly spreads. A dog lies near Tomlin's bakery, enjoying the lingering warmth of the oven stones. He sighs once and closes his eyes. The blacksmith sweeps metal scraps from his floor. The weaver ties off the end of her growing cloth and rolls it carefully. The children return from the tall grass. their pockets filled with stones and stories only they understand. Aveline shows her mother the feather she found. Her mother smiles and tucks it into a small crack in the wooden wall where it can stay. The sky begins to shift again. Blue fades slowly toward gold. The fields glow softly. The air cools in small degrees. Farmers walk home in twos and threes. Their conversation is light. They speak of soil, of whether the frost will return tonight. Elswith's husband steps inside and sets down his tools in their usual place. There is comfort in objects returning to where they belong. The evening meal is shared quietly once more. Steam rises from bowls. Bread is torn into pieces. Water is passed from hand to hand. No one rushes the meal. Afterward, the children sit near the fire while Elswith tells them a simple story, not of heroes or dragons, but of a fox who once tried to outsmart a farmer and ended up stuck in a fence. The children laugh softly. The fire crackles. Outside, the last of the light fades. Another day has moved gently from morning to evening. No loud event marked it. No great change reshaped it. But every small action, every kneaded loaf, every spun thread, every turned row of soil, has added quietly to the life of the village. And as the sky deepens once again toward night, the homes glow with soft orange light. The rhythm continues, slow, steady, unnoticed by history, but deeply lived by those within it. The night settles over the village once more, but this evening feels slightly softer than the last. The air carries only a mild chill now. The frost that touched the fields in the early morning did not return, and the earth seems to hold a gentle warmth from the day. Inside each home, fires glow low and steady. Elswith sits near the hearth after the evening meal, her hands resting quietly in her lap for a rare moment with no task in them. The children have already curled beneath their blankets. Their breathing is slow and even. Her husband adjusts a small wooden peg near the doorway that had loosened during the day. He presses it firmly into place with careful taps of a small mallet. Tap, tap, pause, tap. The sound is soft and contained. When he finishes, he sets the mallet down and sits beside her. They do not speak. They simply share the warmth. Outside, Tomlin steps away from his oven after covering the last of the embers. He looks up at the sky. Clouds drift slowly tonight, thin and pale, moving across the stars. The moon has risen higher than the previous night. It is rounder now, fuller, casting a faint silver glow across the rooftops. The dirt path through the center of the village looks different in moonlight. The small stones embedded in it reflect faint light, like scattered beads. A dog wanders quietly from one doorway to another before settling, near a familiar threshold. In the far distance, beyond the fields, a faint sound of wind brushes through taller grasses. It is steady and calm, like breath moving through reeds. Inside the weaver's home, she folds her finished cloth and stores it carefully in a wooden chest. She runs her hand once over its surface, feeling the smoothness she created thread by thread. In the blacksmith's house, he lies already asleep. His day begins earlier than most, and his body welcomes rest quickly. The village becomes still. The moon moves slowly overhead. Hours pass gently. At some point, deep in the night, clouds thin and drift away completely. The stars grow brighter. The Milky Way stretches clearly across the sky like a faint white river. Inside Elswith's home, the fire reduces to glowing embers again. The room grows cooler. She shifts beneath her blanket but remains asleep. Time moves unnoticed. Eventually, the moon begins its slow descent. Darkness thickens once more before dawn, and again the cycle prepares to begin. Before the first rooster calls, Before the eastern sky softens, Tomlin opens his eyes. He does not rise immediately. He listens. The silence feels full but gentle. He sits up slowly and wraps a thick wool cloak around his shoulders. His bare feet touch the cool ground. He steps outside. The air is calm. A thin mist gathers once more at ground level, barely reaching his ankles. He begins preparing his oven. Wood stacked, straw arranged, flint struck. A small spark catches. Flame grows. The first smoke of morning rises into the dark sky. Across the village, Elswythe wakes again. Her movements mirror yesterday. Ash pushed aside, straw added, breath blown gently into fading coals. Fire returns. The repetition is not dull. It is steady. It is grounding. It is known. Her husband rises and steps outside briefly to stretch his arms. He looks toward the eastern horizon. A faint pale line has begun to appear. The children remain asleep for a few breaths longer. In another home, Aveline wakes before her mother today. She sits quietly on her blanket, listening to the small crackle of the rekindled fire. She stands and walks softly to the doorway. The world outside is dim but peaceful. She wraps her arms around herself against the cool air and watches as the first bird lifts from the roof of the bakery and flies toward the fields. Soon the rooster calls, then another. The sky shifts from deep blue to gray. Mist curls gently between the homes. The well stands silent for a few more moments before the first villager approaches with a bucket. The rope creaks softly. Water echoes below. The sound feels familiar, comforting. Inside her home, Elswythe begins kneading dough once again. Press, fold, turn. The rhythm is steady. Her husband prepares to walk toward the fields, but pauses to eat a small piece of yesterday's bread first. The children sit near the fire, rubbing sleep from their eyes. The sky brightens. Sunlight touches the highest points of the thatched roofs. The mist begins to thin. In the fields, dew clings to the edges of young plants. Droplets shimmer briefly as light reaches them. Farmers step carefully between rows. The soil feels slightly softer today. The oxen are led out again, harnesses adjusted, tools lifted. The blacksmith opens his shutters and breathes in the cool morning air before returning to his forge. The weaver positions her loom near the doorway where light will soon fall strongest. The village wakes in layers, not all at once, one movement at a time, one flame at a time, one breath at a time. By mid-morning, the warmth returns. Bread bakes again. Children carry small bundles of sticks. Aveline feeds scraps to the pigs and watches them root gently in the dirt. Elswythe steps outside to hang damp cloth where sunlight can dry it. The fabric moves lightly in the breeze. Tomlin wipes flour from his hands and exchanges quiet words with a passing farmer about the condition of the soil. Nothing urgent, nothing dramatic, just shared observation. As the sun climbs, shadows shorten. Work continues at a steady pace. The sound of the blacksmith's hammer becomes part of the background again. Tap, pause, tap. The shuttle of the loom moves steadily, back and forth, back and forth. At midday, the bell rings again. The farmers rest once more. They sit on low stones or directly on the ground. They speak of small things, a broken fence that will need mending, the way the frost came early this year, a calf that grows stronger each day. They eat slowly, drink water from wooden cups, watch clouds drift. The afternoon unfolds like cloth being rolled gently open. No sharp edges, no sudden turns, only the steady passing of light across land. By late afternoon, the air grows warmer than expected. Cloaks are loosened, sleeves rolled slightly. A child chases a chicken briefly and is gently told to stop. Laughter rises and fades. Elswythe finishes spinning another length of thread. She places it with the others. Her husband returns from the field with a thoughtful look. He notices how the soil feels slightly heavier this season. He does not worry. He simply observes. The evening begins its slow arrival once again. Smoke rises. Pots simmer. Doors remain open a little longer while light still lingers. The sky turns gold, then amber, then deepening blue. And as another ordinary day moves quietly toward night, the village continues in its gentle rhythm. No page will record this day. No scholar will speak of it. Yet it has been full of breath, full of work, full of small, steady care. And the rhythm carries on. The evening settles again, but tonight the air feels softer, almost mild, as if the season itself is slowly stretching toward warmth. The sky fades from amber to violet, and then into a deep blue that seems wider than the day before. A thin crescent of cloud drifts lazily across the horizon, glowing faintly before disappearing into darkness. Inside the village homes, fires glow brighter for a short, while before being allowed to rest lower for the night. Elswythe stirs a small pot of lentils over the hearth. The smell is simple and earthy. She adds a pinch of dried herbs she saved from the late summer months. The scent rises gently into the room. Her husband sits near the doorway, repairing a wooden handle that had begun to splinter. He runs a small knife carefully along the grain of the wood, smoothing it. Shave, turn, shave. He works slowly, not because the task is difficult, but because there is no reason to rush. The children sit close to each other on a woven mat. Aveline traces shapes in ash with her finger while her younger brother watches. Outside, Tomlin closes the wooden cover over his oven's mouth. The stones inside still hold warmth from the day's baking. He rests his hand briefly on the outer wall of the oven, feeling the stored heat beneath his palm. He exhales slowly. The baker's day always begins first and ends last. But he does not complain. He simply walks inside and lowers himself onto his straw mattress, knowing that the cycle will begin again before sunrise. Across the village, the blacksmith finishes wiping down his tools with a cloth lightly dipped in oil. He lines them up carefully on their hooks. Each tool has its place. Order brings calm. He closes the shutters to his forge and steps into the quiet. The weaver rolls up her cloth again and sits back for a moment, stretching her fingers. Thread has passed through her hands all day. She rubs her palms together slowly to warm them before lying down. Outside, the moon rises later than the night before. The darkness feels deeper for a while. The stars shine clearly above the rooftops. A breeze moves gently across the fields, brushing the tops of young plants. The sound is faint, like the softest whisper. Inside Elswythe's home, the children are already asleep. Her husband finishes smoothing the wooden handle and sets it aside for tomorrow. He lies down beside the children and closes his eyes. Elswythe remains awake a little longer. She listens. The crackle of the fire, the quiet breathing, the faint wind beyond the walls. She thinks briefly of the coming weeks, of planting, of gathering, of drying herbs, of spinning more wool, not with worry, just awareness. Then she lowers herself beneath the blanket and allows sleep to come. The night deepens fully. Hours pass quietly. At the edge of the fields, a thin fog begins to form again, but lighter than before. An owl glides silently overhead. The village rests, and then, in the quiet space just before dawn, the rhythm turns once more. A rooster calls. It echoes softly. Another answers. The sky lightens slowly in the east. Tomlin rises again in darkness, his movements practiced and careful. He wraps his cloak tightly and steps outside. The air feels different this morning. Not as cold, not as sharp. He inhales and notices a faint scent of damp earth. Perhaps rain will come soon. He begins stacking wood inside the oven chamber. Across the village, Elswythe wakes and sits up without sound. She feels the air, too, heavier. Still, she kneels beside the hearth and moves aside the ash, searching for the quiet red glow beneath. There it is. She breathes gently into it. The flame returns. Her husband rises and steps outside for a moment, scanning the sky. Thin, gray clouds stretch across the horizon. Not thick, not threatening, just present. The children wake more slowly today. The air feels calm, almost sleepy. Aveline rubs her eyes and walks to the doorway. She watches as Tomlin's first line of smoke rises straight upward before slowly bending sideways, a sign of wind higher above. The well becomes active again. The rope creaks. The bucket dips. Water splashes below. Morning begins as always. Bread dough is mixed. Hands knead. Press and fold. The blacksmith opens his shutters and notices the clouds too. He decides to begin his work slightly earlier, in case rain shortens the afternoon. The weaver positions her loom closer to the doorway, wanting to use as much natural light as possible. Farmers walk toward the fields with tools resting over their shoulders. The soil feels softer beneath their boots. The oxen step carefully, their breath warm in the cool morning air. As the sun rises behind the thin cloud cover, the light is gentler today. It spreads evenly without sharp brightness. The village moves within this softer glow. By mid-morning, the clouds thicken slightly, but no rain falls yet. Elswythe hangs damp cloth outside anyway, hoping the breeze will dry it before any drops begin. Tomlin removes the first loaves from the oven. Steam rises into the cool air and disappears quickly. The children carry small sticks toward their homes, adding to growing wood piles near each doorway. Aveline feeds the pigs again and looks up at the sky with curiosity. She feels something coming, though she does not know what. The church bell rings midday. Farmers pause in their work. They look upward. The clouds are now fuller, darker at their base. Still no rain. They sit and eat slowly, watching the sky. The breeze grows slightly stronger. It moves through the tall grass in long ripples. Back in the village, the blacksmith wipes sweat from his brow despite the cloud cover. The forge is warm, steady. Tap, pause, tap. The weaver's shuttle moves quickly now, wanting to finish a row before light dims further. Back and forth, back and forth. The afternoon drifts forward. The first faint drop of rain falls onto the dirt path. Then another. They are small, scattered, almost gentle enough to ignore. Villagers glance upward but do not rush. The drops stop for a moment. The sky holds its breath. Then, slowly, lightly, rain begins to fall. Not heavy, not loud, just steady, soft. The dirt path darkens. The thatched roofs absorb the moisture. The fields drink quietly. Farmers guide the oxen back toward shelter. Tools are carried home calmly. No panic. Rain is welcome. Elswythe gathers the drying cloth quickly, but without hurry. She steps inside and hangs it near the hearth instead. The children stand at the doorway watching the rain with wide eyes. The sound on the thatch roof is soothing, a steady whisper. Tomlin covers the oven opening carefully, protecting the fire within. The blacksmith closes his shutters halfway, allowing only a small opening for air. The weaver pulls her loom slightly back from the doorway to avoid drifting mist. The rain continues for a while. The village grows quieter beneath it. Smoke rises less strongly now, pressed down by the damp air. The earth smells rich and alive. Inside each home, fires burn softly. The afternoon light dims early because of the clouds. And as the rain taps gently against wood and straw, the entire village slows even more. Work pauses. Voices soften. The rhythm continues, but in a quieter tone. Like a lullaby made of water and earth, the rain does not fall heavily. It never becomes a storm. Instead, it continues in a soft, steady curtain through the late afternoon, each drop landing with quiet purpose upon roof, soil, and leaf. The dirt path through the village darkens to a deep brown. Small, shallow puddles form in uneven places, where feet have pressed the ground flat over many seasons. Children stand just inside their doorways, watching. They stretch out their hands once or twice to feel the cool drops, then pull them back, laughing softly at the chill. Elsweith adds another small piece of wood to the hearth. The fire answers with a gentle crackle. Damp air has slipped inside the house, and she feels the need for a little more warmth. Her husband sits near the doorway sharpening his tool again, though it may not truly need sharpening. The sound of the stone against metal blends with the rain. Scrape, scrape, pause. The children sit cross-legged near the hearth, quieter than usual, listening to the soft rhythm above their heads. Rain on thatch has a soothing pattern, not sharp, not loud, just steady. Across the village, Tomlin checks his oven again. He has sealed it carefully against the moisture, and the heat inside remains strong. He knows tomorrow's bread will still bake well. He stands beneath the small overhang, beside his bakery, and watches. The rain fall in slanted lines. The air smells deeply of wet earth now. The scent is rich and grounding. The blacksmith has slowed his work. The forge still glows, but he shapes only small nails this afternoon, letting the hammer fall gently rather than striking with full force. Tap, tap, tap. The weaver continues at her loom, the rain making the light outside softer and more even. Her shuttle moves steadily, and the rhythm feels almost like breathing, back and forth, back and forth. In the fields, the oxen stand beneath simple wooden shelters. Their large bodies release warmth into the damp air. They chew slowly, unaffected by the gentle rain. The soil drinks quietly. Tiny streams begin forming along the edges of the field rows, guiding water carefully downward. Nothing floods, nothing rushes, everything absorbs. As the afternoon deepens, the rain begins to thin. The drops become lighter, more spaced apart. The sky remains gray, but the heavy feeling has lifted. Elsweith steps outside for a moment, pulling her shawl around her shoulders. She looks upward. The clouds are breaking apart in small places. Faint light slips through. She breathes in deeply. The air feels clean, cool, fresh. Aveline steps out beside her mother and carefully places one foot into a shallow puddle. The water ripples outward in quiet circles. She watches the circles fade. Then she does it again. Her mother smiles but says nothing. Across the village, doors begin opening wider as the rain slows further. The dirt path glistens softly. Tomlin steps into the open and lifts his face toward the sky. A final few drops fall against his cheeks. The blacksmith opens his shutters fully once more. Damp air rushes briefly into the forge before the warmth pushes it back out. Farmers walk toward the edges of the fields to inspect the soil. They move slowly, boots sinking slightly into softened ground. They kneel and press their fingers gently into the earth. It feels good, moist, ready. They nod quietly to themselves. The rain has done what it needed to do. By early evening, the clouds begin drifting apart entirely. A pale, golden light spreads across the village once more, touching the wet rooftops and making them shimmer faintly. The puddles reflect pieces of sky. Children step carefully around them, sometimes intentionally stepping into the smallest ones. Soft laughter rises and fades. Elsweith returns inside to begin preparing the evening meal. Tonight, she adds a handful of dried beans to the pot. letting them soak in the warmth of the simmering broth. Her husband sets his tool aside and wipes his hands on a cloth. The damp air outside carries the scent of grass and soil, now deeper and more alive. Tomlin checks the wood stacked for tomorrow. He adjusts it slightly to keep it dry beneath a covering. The blacksmith wipes moisture from the handle of his hammer. The weaver runs her hand over the finished section of cloth, feeling the tight weave beneath her fingers. The village feels washed, refreshed. As the sun lowers once more, the sky clears completely. The clouds thin into soft streaks of pale color. Pink touches the horizon. Orange follows, then deep gold. The wet ground reflects these colors faintly. Smoke begins rising again from hearths, thin blue lines curling upward into the calm air. The church bell rings once, steady and familiar. Evening has arrived. Farmers return fully from the fields, satisfied with the rain's gift. They speak quietly of how the seedlings will likely grow stronger now. Elsweith's husband steps inside and sets his boots near the door, brushing mud from them carefully. The children sit close to the fire once more, watching steam rise from their bowls. Outside, Tomlin closes his oven for the night again. The blacksmith lowers the glow of his forge. The weaver covers her loom. The puddles slowly begin to shrink as the remaining warmth of the day fades into night. Stars appear above, brighter after the clearing sky. The moon rises gently, reflecting faintly in the last remaining pools of water. Inside each home, the fires settle lower. Breathing slows, voices soften. The rhythm of rain has passed, replaced again by the rhythm of quiet rest. The village exhales. Another gentle day has unfolded, not marked by great events, not remembered in books, but deeply felt in soil, in firelight, in the soft pattern of rain upon thatch. And as the stars stretch across the dark sky once more, the village settles into sleep, slowly, steadily, together. Morning returns with a softer light than usual. The rain from yesterday has left the earth dark and full. When the first pale glow spreads across the horizon, the fields seem almost richer in color, as if the soil itself has deepened overnight. A faint mist rises from the damp ground. It does not cling heavily. It simply drifts low and slow, like breath warming in cool air. Tomlin wakes before the rooster calls. He lies still for a moment, listening to the quiet after rain. The world sounds different, slightly fuller, slightly softer. He rises and steps outside. The dirt path is no longer dusty. It feels firm beneath his feet, still holding moisture but not muddy. He kneels briefly near his oven, placing his palm against the cool outer stone. He begins the morning ritual again. Wood stacked carefully, straw tucked beneath, flint struck, a spark, a small flame, a growing warmth. Across the village, Elsweith opens her eyes and senses the freshness in the air even before she fully wakes. She sits up slowly. The children remain asleep, their faces relaxed in the dim light. She moves to the hearth and repeats the same gentle movements as every morning. Ash aside, straw placed, breath given. The ember glows. The flame returns. Outside, the first bird call rises clearer than before. The rain has sharpened the sound of everything. Even distant noises feel closer. A rooster finally calls from near the well. Another answers. The sky turns pale gray, then soft blue. Mist curls along the edges of the village homes. Aveline wakes and walks quietly to the doorway. She steps outside and looks down at the small puddle that remains near the path. It reflects the brightening sky like a small mirror. She crouches and touches it lightly. The surface trembles. Tiny circles move outward and disappear. Her breath rises faintly in the cool air. At the well, the first villager lowers a bucket. The rope feels damp but smooth. The water below seems colder this morning. The bucket rises. Water spills gently over the rim and lands back into the well with a soft echo. Farmers begin walking toward the fields. They step carefully over wet patches, but do not complain. The rain has done good work for them. The soil feels soft beneath their boots, almost welcoming. Oxen move forward slowly, their hooves pressing deep but steady into the ground. The blacksmith opens his shutters and notices how the morning light reflects differently off his tools. The weaver adjusts her loom near the doorway again, pleased that the rain has settled the dust in the air. Tomlin's oven grows warm. Soon the smell of baking bread rises once more into the fresh morning air. It mixes with the scent of wet earth, a comforting blend. Elswaith kneads dough near her doorway, allowing light to touch her hands. Press, fold, turn. The rhythm continues. Her husband steps outside and stretches, looking toward the fields where mist still lingers. He notices how green the young shoots appear this morning. The children eat small pieces of yesterday's bread before stepping outside to play. They walk carefully along the path, examining the world as if it has been newly placed before them. A small snail clings to a damp wooden fence post. Aveline watches it move slowly, fascinated by its careful pace. The church bell rings softly, marking the hour. Work continues. In the fields, farmers bend and plant. The soil is easier to shape today. Their tools move with less resistance. They pause occasionally to wipe their hands on cloths tied at their waists. No one rushes. The day feels steady and calm. By mid-morning, the mist has fully lifted. Sunlight spreads evenly across the land. Small drops of water still cling to leaves, shining briefly before drying. Back in the village, the blacksmith shapes a simple iron hook. The hammer falls gently. Tap, pause, tap. The sound carries lightly through the air. The weaver hums softly as she works, her voice blending with the steady movement of thread. Back and forth, back and forth. Elswaith hangs a damp cloth outside, confident it will dry in the returning warmth. Tomlin removes fresh loaves from the oven. Steam rises thick and white before fading. Villagers approach one by one, exchanging small goods or promises of later trade. Bread passes from hand to hand, warmth shared. The children gather near the edge of the field, where yesterday's rain has left the soil darker. They press their footprints into the soft ground, comparing sizes. They laugh quietly. Their joy is simple and brief, carried lightly by the breeze. At midday, the bell rings again. Farmers straighten their backs and sit along the edges of the fields. They unwrap cloth bundles, bread, cheese, a small onion shared between two. They speak softly about the rain, about how the earth feels grateful, about how the seedlings might rise stronger now. Clouds drift slowly above, but hold no threat of further rain. The air feels balanced, neither too warm nor too cool. After resting, they return to their work without hesitation. Back in the village, the afternoon moves gently forward. Elswaith finishes spinning another small skein of thread. She places it into her basket with quiet satisfaction. Her husband repairs a small section of fence that loosened during the rain. He pushes the post deeper into the ground and presses soil firmly around it. The blacksmith wipes his brow and drinks from a wooden cup. The weaver pauses to stretch her fingers before continuing her steady rhythm. The sun begins its slow descent. Light shifts from bright to golden. The fields glow softly. Oxen are guided home. Tools are gathered. Footsteps return along the path. The children help carry small bundles of sticks toward their homes. Aveline looks back once at the fields, noticing how different they appear after rain. More alive, more full. Inside the homes, fires are stirred once again. Pots are hung over flames. The scent of simmering vegetables drifts into the cooling air. Tomlin scrapes ash gently from his oven floor and prepares for tomorrow. The blacksmith lowers the glow of his forge. The weaver ties off the day's final thread. The sky shifts slowly toward evening blue. A faint pink line appears near the horizon before fading into gray. Stars begin to show one by one. The village quiets. Doors close softly. Wooden latches settle into place. Inside Elswythe's home, the family eats together in calm silence. Steam rises from bowls. Bread is torn into pieces. Water is passed carefully. After the meal, the children curl beneath blankets again. Their breathing slows quickly. Elswythe sits a moment longer by the hearth. She listens to the soft crackle of embers. Her husband lies beside the children, already resting. Outside, the damp earth cools beneath the dark sky. The last of the puddles reflect the rising moon before disappearing completely. The air feels calm, balanced, whole, and as another quiet day settles into night, the village rests once more within its gentle rhythm, unnoticed by history, unwritten in books, but deeply lived. The night deepens gently over the village, stretching slowly as if reluctant to end its calm. Inside the homes, fires burn lower, glowing softly in the hearths. The warmth spreads quietly into rooms where families gather. Elswythe sits near her hearth, watching the soft embers. Her hands rest idly in her lap. Tonight there is no pressing task. The children have already settled beneath woolen blankets. Their breathing is slow, even, almost in rhythm with the small crackle of the fire. Outside, the moon rises gradually above the rooftops. Its silver light glints faintly on the wet leaves from yesterday's rain. The stars begin to scatter across the dark sky. Their shimmer is gentle, steady, and distant. Tomlin stands beside his bakery, his breath forming small clouds in the cool night air. He checks the oven, ensuring that the last heat of the day is preserved for tomorrow's bread. He touches the warm stones with his palm and exhales slowly, feeling their steady heat spread into his fingers. Across the village, the blacksmith leans against the doorway of his forge. The coals within are faintly glowing. He does not hammer tonight. His hands rest on the cool wooden handles of his tools. The rhythm of the day has paused, and he moves only when necessary. Slowly, deliberately, the weaver sits near her loom, winding the last threads of a recently completed cloth into neat skeins. Her fingers work in soft, circular motions, methodical and unhurried. Outside her open door, the breeze carries the faint scent of damp earth and lingering warmth from the day. The village breathes in unison. No loud noises interrupt the night. The faint hoot of an owl comes from the far edge of the woods. Stretching into silence, a fox moves quietly in the distant brush. Its paws press lightly into soft earth. The village is unaware, yet every movement blends into the calm rhythm of life. Elswythe rises carefully, taking the smallest steps to avoid waking her children. She approaches the hearth and pushes a small log into the embers, coaxing a gentle flame. The warmth spreads slowly into the room. She kneels briefly, observing the flickering light on the walls. Shadows dance lightly, then settle, mirroring the gentle ebb and flow of life in the village. Her husband rises as well. He stretches slowly, muscles relaxed from a day of steady work. He moves toward the small chest where tools are stored, checking each one briefly. Nothing is hurried. Each item is touched and returned carefully, as it has been for countless days. Outside, the village remains quiet. The mist rises faintly along the fields, curling softly around the fences and low stone walls. The soil retains a faint dampness, a memory of the gentle rain from 2 days past. Every step taken across it leaves a brief imprint, soon to vanish in the calm night. Aveline stirs beneath her blanket, but does not rise. She feels the fire's warmth and the rhythm of the home, soothing her back into sleep. Her younger brother does the same, tiny hands curled beneath his chin. In the distance, the sound of the church bell echoes once, low and measured. It does not call urgency. It does not demand action. It simply marks the passage of time. The moon climbs higher. Its light touches rooftops, hearth smoke, and the still waters of the well. Everything glows softly under its silver hue. Tomlin wipes his hands on his cloak and steps back inside, closing the door lightly behind him. The oven warmth remains, steady and calm, ready for tomorrow. The blacksmith removes his gloves and places them neatly beside the anvil. He brushes off dust and ash from the floor. The forge glows faintly, a quiet reminder of labor completed. He sits for a few moments, observing the shadows of the room before lying down to rest. The weaver folds her cloth carefully, placing it beside the loom. She sits for a while longer, running her fingers along the finished threads. The pattern is simple, rhythmic, and comforting. She leans back, listening to the slow, steady breathing of the house, synchronized with the night. Outside, the wind moves in soft sweeps across the village, carrying faint scents of pine from the surrounding woods. The sound brushes against thatched roofs, wooden doors, and stone walls. It is neither cold nor strong. It is gentle and constant, like a lullaby whispered from the earth itself. The moonlight touches every corner. Shadows stretch and shrink slowly, following the movement of the clouds. The village, though still, feels alive. Every small movement, animal, human, or leaf, is part of the larger rhythm that history often overlooks. In Elsweith's home, she glances at her sleeping children one last time. Their faces are calm, their breaths steady. The firelight casts a gentle glow across their cheeks. She feels the comfort of the rhythm surrounding them. Her husband lies quietly beside her. His eyes are closed. He does not move. He rests. The simple tasks of the day have given way to a quiet night. Outside, Tomlin checks the oven once more, then extinguishes the faint ember glow for the night. The warmth remains in the stone, holding until morning. The blacksmith leans back against the doorway, listening to the rhythm of night. He notes the distant echo of water from the village well and the soft whisper of wind in the trees. He breathes in slowly and lets the body relax fully. The weaver adjusts the cloth near her loom one final time. Before letting her hands rest, she sits quietly, feeling the calm of a day completed, the gentle fading light, and the slow arrival of night's embrace. In the fields beyond, the oxen have settled beneath their shelters. Their warm breaths rise into the cool air, carrying the faintest sound of life in a world now mostly asleep. The village is fully quiet now. Only the soft crackle of embers, the whisper of the wind, and the gentle breathing of those resting remain. Time passes slowly, unnoticed. The moon continues its climb, touching every roof, every path, and every tree with silver light. The stars stretch across the sky, faint and steady. The rhythm of the village continues beneath them, slow, steady, calm, and as night deepens, all is in place, ready to welcome another ordinary day in this quietly lived medieval world. Part 11. The night stretches fully now, deep and soft, covering the village in a cloak of shadow and moonlight. The air is still, except for the faintest whisper of wind weaving through the thatched rooftops and the surrounding fields. Every house, every doorway, every hearth seems to exhale a calm that spreads across the village like a gentle tide. Elsweith lies awake for a short while, not out of worry, but from the simple awareness that the world outside, her window, is quiet and alive in its own slow rhythm. The embers in the hearth glow dimly, casting soft, dancing shadows along the walls of her home. Her hands rest idly in her lap, feeling the warmth radiate from the small fire. She listens to the faint creak of wooden beams as they settle under the cool night air. Her husband sleeps beside her, his breathing slow and even. The children are nestled under thick blankets, their faces peaceful, mouths slightly open in the soft, steady rhythm of sleep. There is a profound calm in this room, in the shared stillness, and Elsweith allows herself to feel it fully. She closes her eyes for a moment, listening to the subtle sounds of the home. A small pop from the fire, the faint scratching of a mouse in the corner, and the distant whisper of leaves against the walls. Outside, Tomlin stands briefly by his oven. The faint warmth of the stones beneath his hands is comforting, even in the cool of the night. He glances upward at the stars, noting their clarity after the rain from days past. The Milky Way stretches across the sky in a pale, unbroken ribbon. The constellations look as they always have, unchanged over years, centuries even, and yet each night they offer a new pattern of calm and wonder. Across the village, the blacksmith rests near the faint glow of his forge. Though he has ceased work for the day, he keeps the coals smoldering, not to cook or forge, but simply as a companion to the quiet night. The gentle heat warms the stone floor beneath him. Tap, tap, tap. He runs a finger along the handle of a hammer left nearby, remembering the slow, steady rhythm of work from earlier in the day. The sound is a gentle echo in the otherwise silent room. In the weaver's home, the last threads of cloth are folded neatly into small bundles. Her hands are stained lightly from natural dyes used in earlier weeks, but she does not mind. She runs her fingers along the cloth one final time, appreciating the soft texture, the subtle irregularities, and the patient labor that brought it to life. She sits quietly for a while, listening to the night, watching shadows stretch across the walls as moonlight filters through the open doorway. Beyond the homes, the fields are faintly illuminated by silver light. The mist clings low, curling around fence posts and the bases of trees. Every blade of grass glistens faintly with residual moisture from yesterday's rain. The oxen, now still in their shelters, breathe evenly. Their warmth mingles with the cool air, creating gentle columns of rising heat. Each movement is subtle, unnoticed, unless one pays close attention. The village is wrapped in slow, deliberate rhythm, everything moving in its own unhurried way. A faint owl calls from the forest beyond, its hoot rolling through the air. It is answered briefly by a second, and then the sound fades. The wind brushes lightly against rooftops and walls, rustling leaves and carrying the scent of wet soil and faint herbs. No sound is loud enough to disturb the stillness. Even the distant river, which usually murmurs softly, seems to have slowed to a whisper tonight. Elsweith rises softly from her mat to check the hearth. She kneels beside the remaining embers, poking a small piece of wood into them. A gentle flame emerges, casting a soft glow across the room. The light touches the faces of her sleeping children and her resting husband. She feels the continuity of this quiet life, the cycles of fire, work, and rest that define each day. She inhales deeply, letting the warmth, the rhythm, and the slow passage of time settle within her. Her husband shifts slightly but remains asleep. He dreams, though no one knows of what. Perhaps he imagines the soft fields, the oxen, the repetitive motions of work, each day unfolding in quiet predictability. This is the life they have chosen and inherited. Simple, slow, and steady. Outside, Tomlin leans against the side of his bakery, listening. The village feels suspended between yesterday and tomorrow. There is no urgency, no need to rush. He inhales the cool night air, noting the faint smell of embers, wet earth, and distant herbs. His gaze travels across the rooftops, past the low stone walls, toward the dark line of forest at the village's edge. Each roof, each chimney, each field feels alive with quiet energy. The blacksmith moves briefly to check his remaining coals. He tends them lightly, careful not to let them grow too hot. His hands are steady, skilled, and deliberate. Tap. Pause. Tap. The rhythm is soft, a subtle echo of the day's work, blending with the night's natural sounds. He settles back against the stone wall of his forge, feeling its coolness through his cloak. He allows himself to rest fully, letting the rhythm of the village and the night's quiet envelop him. In the weaver's home, the shuttle rests. She stretches her hands gently, feeling the muscles loosen after a day of delicate movement. She runs her fingers over the last finished cloth, appreciating the smooth texture and the patient labor embedded within it. She steps back to the window for a moment, watching the moonlight spill across the fields and the rooftops, the mist curling softly around familiar landmarks. She breathes deeply, feeling connected to the village, the earth, and the rhythm that binds them all. The children stir slightly in their sleep but do not wake. Their small movements are mirrored by gentle shifts of air and the quiet flicker of embers. Aveline dreams, perhaps, of the small puddles in which she played 2 days ago, or of the faint circles of water she watched ripple softly. Her younger brother dreams too, unaware that these quiet moments are stitched together from repetition, patience, and calm. Outside, the mist lifts slowly as the night progresses. The earth releases its dampness gently, and faint clouds begin drifting across the sky. Stars glimmer steadily. The Milky Way, wide and pale, stretches its calm across the heavens. An occasional bird calls softly from a distant branch, though most life remains quiet, resting or moving slowly. The village feels held, suspended in a soft bubble of time. Every motion is careful, every sound measured. Smoke from hearths rises in gentle spirals into the calm air, merging with the faint wind and the faint mist. Even the distant church bell, now barely audible, marks hours without urgency, without demand. It is a reminder that time continues, even in the gentlest way, unnoticed, peaceful, and steady. Elswyth sits again near her hearth. She breathes in the warmth, feeling the weight of calm settle fully into her body. Her husband rests beside her. The children are quiet. The house feels alive in the way it always does, through warmth, through presence, and through the subtle movements that define a life lived slowly. Tomlin returns inside, leaving the faint warmth of his oven for the night. The air is filled with the scent of bread, earth, and wood smoke. The blacksmith rests fully, hands empty, heart steady. The weaver has settled near her loom, threads rolled neatly, hands relaxed. Outside, the village landscape glows softly under the moon and stars. The mist curls around fences, trees, and garden edges. The fields, dark and rich from recent rains, hold a faint shine, capturing moonlight and releasing it slowly. The oxen breathe evenly in their shelters. Every living creature feels the steady, slow pulse of the night. Time flows unnoticed, measured only by gentle movements, the crackle of embers, the faint breathing of animals, the slight rustle of leaves in the wind. The rhythm is steady, full, and deeply comforting. The night deepens further. Stars glimmer. The moon rises higher. A faint owl calls again in the distance. Smoke drifts lazily from chimneys. Doors and shutters are closed softly. Fires glow low, embers flickering gently. The village rests fully now, embraced in the continuity of life, repetition, and calm. Each heartbeat, each movement, each breath adds quietly to the unfolding rhythm of this slow, medieval world. Nothing rushes, nothing interrupts, only steady, measured life, unfolding gently into the depths of night, preparing the village for another, ordinary day that will rise just as quietly as this one began. Part 12. The first whispers of dawn arrive slowly, stretching across the village in faint silver threads. The night's darkness softens into a muted gray, and the stars fade quietly, their gentle light replaced by the earliest glow of morning. A thin mist clings to the fields, curling around fence posts and low stone walls, lifting gradually as the day begins its slow progression. Elswyth opens her eyes just as the horizon brightens. The embers in the hearth are faint but steady, casting a warm, gentle glow that stretches across the room. She rises carefully, moving softly so as not to disturb the children still nestled under blankets. The air is cool and calm, carrying the scent of damp earth from the recent rain. Her husband is already awake, stretching slowly beside her. His movements are deliberate, unhurried, as he prepares for the morning routine. Outside, the first birds call softly, their voices blending with the faint rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. Tomlin stands at the mouth of his oven, feeling the warmth of the stone beneath his hand. He carefully adds a small piece of wood to sustain the gentle heat that will soon bake the morning bread. Each movement is measured, purposeful, but slow, as if in harmony with the calm that blankets the village. The blacksmith opens his shutters gradually, letting in the soft morning light. He touches each tool lightly, feeling the familiar smoothness of the handles, the gentle weight of the hammers. He does not hurry. His work will begin soon, but for now, he watches the morning unfold outside his window. In the weaver's home, the loom is ready, the threads neatly aligned from the previous day. She adjusts her position near the doorway, feeling the warmth of the sun beginning to touch the floor. Subtle and slow, like the gentle pulse of the earth itself. Elswyth leans back against the hearth, breathing in the warmth, the quiet, and the soft rhythm surrounding her. She feels the continuity of life here, the same patterns repeated day after day, season after season, each movement deliberate, each breath part of a larger flow. Her husband sleeps beside her, unmoving but present. The children breathe evenly, their faces calm. The village exists in this steady, unhurried state, every action and sound part of a gentle, ongoing rhythm. Outside, Tomlin adjusts a small piece of wood in the oven, careful not to disturb the steady heat. He glances upward at the moon, noting its silver light spreading across fields, rooftops, and paths. Each shadow, each reflection, each ripple of mist seems purposeful, part of the slow unfolding of life in this medieval village. The blacksmith listens again to the faint echo of his own movements, the tap of metal against stone, and the soft murmur of distant water. He exhales, allowing his body to sink fully into rest. The forge glows faintly, a quiet companion to the night, holding warmth and rhythm until morning. The weaver smooths her cloth one last time and sets it near her side. She listens to the calm that surrounds her, the slow breathing of family members, the distant echo of animals, the gentle rustle of leaves, and the faint crackle of remaining embers. Time feels slow and deliberate, each movement measured, each sound comforting. The moon climbs higher, casting its silver light across every home, field, and path. Mist curls, animals rest, and villagers breathe evenly in the night's embrace. The rhythm of life continues, unbroken, subtle, and profoundly calming. The night stretches on, steady and unhurried. The village exists in harmony with itself. Each person, each creature, each movement part of the soft, continuous pulse of life. Fires glow low, embers flicker gently, and smoke rises lazily into the still air. Stars twinkle faintly in the clear sky, adding quiet light to the silver of the moon. Every roof, path, and field reflects this calm, creating a sense of gentle completeness. The village is fully at rest, embraced by the slow, comforting rhythm of life. And as the hours pass quietly, the world remains soft, steady, and profoundly calm, preparing naturally for the next day. The same cycle of slow, measured, and peaceful life continuing without pause. The first pale hints of dawn begin to creep across the horizon. The night's darkness slowly recedes, leaving behind a soft gray light that spreads gently over the village. Shadows shrink, and the faint glow of morning touches the rooftops, the fields, and the low stone walls. A gentle mist rises from the earth, curling lazily around fence posts and tree trunks. Moving slowly, as if in no hurry to disappear, Elsweith awakens softly, not from noise, but from the natural shift of light filling the room. Her children remain asleep, their small bodies curled beneath blankets. She moves carefully to avoid disturbing them, stepping lightly across the wooden floor. Her hands brush briefly against the warm stone of the hearth. The embers glow faintly, releasing soft heat into the cool air. She inhales deeply, taking in the faint scent of smoke, warm bread from yesterday, and the lingering moisture in the air from the previous rain. Her husband rises slowly as well. He stretches deliberately, feeling the gentle ache in his back from the labor of the previous day. There is no rush. The day has not yet begun in earnest. Outside, the first birds call softly. The sound is subtle but clear, carrying faintly across the village streets. Oxen shift in their shelters, their steady breathing mixing with the faint sounds of the wind. Tomlin stands by his oven, touching the warm stones with practiced hands. He prepares for the morning bread, checking the small pieces of firewood, and adding only what is necessary to maintain a gentle heat. The oven releases a comforting warmth into the cool air, the smell of wood and faint residual heat filling the space around him. Across the village, the blacksmith stretches slowly, his tools arranged neatly nearby. He does not strike the hammer yet, letting the stillness of the morning settle fully before work resumes. The faint glow of the forge coals provides warmth without distraction. He listens to the subtle sounds of the awakening village, the distant drip of water from thatched roofs, the soft rustle of leaves, and the occasional call of a bird in the nearby woods. In the weaver's home, the loom waits patiently. Threads are aligned neatly, and the recently completed fabric is folded carefully on a nearby shelf. She moves to the doorway, allowing the pale light of morning to touch the floor and her fingers. Her hands are slow, deliberate, and careful, each movement measured as she prepares to resume the gentle rhythm of weaving. Outside, the fields are moist from the mist. The soil feels soft underfoot. Puddles remain, catching the faint light and reflecting pieces of sky. Aveline steps outside carefully, observing the smallest ripples in the water. She touches one with a fingertip, sending tiny circles outward. The sensation is soothing, rhythmic, and familiar. The church bell tolls softly, marking the morning hour. Villagers begin to stir, not in haste, but with careful, deliberate movements. Oxen are guided to the fields. Farmers walk slowly, inspecting the soil, and children observe the world around them with quiet curiosity. Each action is deliberate, each step measured. Elsweith kneads dough once more, her hands pressing and folding in a soft, steady rhythm. The warmth of the hearth spreads slowly through the room. Her husband fetches water from the well, each step deliberate, careful not to disturb the soft morning earth. The faint scent of wet soil rises, mingling with the aroma of baking bread. Tomlin lifts the first loaves from the oven. Steam rises gently, curling into the cool air. The smell drifts softly through the village, a calm invitation to begin the day. Villagers breathe in the aroma, feeling the comfort of simple, ordinary life. Children begin to stir, stretching, yawning, and observing the world anew. Aveline watches as the sun touches the puddles, reflecting light into her eyes. Her younger brother steps lightly along the softened dirt path, following in her footsteps. Each movement is careful, slow, and deliberate, part of the natural rhythm of the village morning. The blacksmith, finally, begins his work. Tap, pause, tap. The hammer falls lightly, shaping small tools with care. The rhythm is deliberate, consistent, and calming. It blends with the gentle sounds of birds, the distant call of the church bell, and the whisper of wind through the trees. The weaver resumes her shuttle, gliding back and forth over the threads, back and forth, back and forth. Each pass creates a simple pattern, a reflection of calm repetition. Her fingers move with awareness, weaving both cloth and the subtle, measured rhythm of daily life. Tomlin tends the oven carefully, adding small pieces of wood to maintain the gentle warmth. The smell of fresh bread rises once more into the cool morning air. Villagers move quietly along paths, collecting firewood, water, and small items needed for the day. Each motion is slow, purposeful, and part of the larger rhythm of life. As the sun climbs higher, the light spreads evenly across rooftops, fields, and streets. Mist lifts slowly, leaving the village clear and tranquil. The earth glistens faintly from dew and the remains of recent rain. Every blade of grass, every leaf, every path is touched with the calm light of morning. Elsweith returns to her spinning, moving her hands slowly and deliberately. Threads unwind gently, coiled neatly as they pass through her fingers. Her husband repairs a section of fence that loosened overnight, pressing posts firmly into the soil. The blacksmith shapes small iron pieces, tapping lightly. Tomlin prepares the oven for the next batch of bread, each loaf made with attention and care. Children observe, participate, and learn. Small hands gather kindling, carry small bundles of straw, and step carefully along softened earth. Their movements are cautious but confident, guided by the patterns they have absorbed over years of observation. The village hums quietly with activity, not loud or intrusive, but steady and calming. Each person contributes to the rhythm of life, reinforcing the slow, deliberate pace of this medieval community. As midday approaches, villagers pause briefly for rest. They sit along field edges, leaning against fence posts, taking in the warmth of the sun and the gentle sounds of nature. Bread is shared, water is sipped, words are soft and measured. Laughter is gentle and brief. This pause extends the slow cadence of life, reinforcing its comforting predictability. By afternoon, work resumes. Farmers bend to plant and repair. The blacksmith taps lightly at iron. The weaver moves her shuttle back and forth. Tomlin manages his oven. Fires glow softly. Oxen are guided slowly along the field rows. The rhythm is unbroken, continuous, soothing, and steady. As evening arrives, light softens, shifting from gold to deep amber. Shadows lengthen. Fires are prepared for the night. Hearths glowing. Smoke rises lazily. Children help carry small bundles of sticks. The sky deepens to blue, stars appearing faintly while the moon begins to rise. Inside, homes are warm, quiet, and safe. Meals are prepared deliberately. Children settle beneath blankets, breathing slowly. Adults complete small tasks, savoring the calm continuity of life. The village exists in harmony, each action and sound contributing to the slow, steady cadence of everyday existence. And as night falls fully, the village rests again, embraced by the soft, unhurried rhythm of life, ready for the final day of this gently unfolding story. The final night descends softly, stretching across the village like a velvet blanket. The sky is deep and still, scattered with faint stars that glimmer subtly above the rooftops, fields, and fences. The moon climbs high, casting silver light across the land. Shadows stretch long and calm, moving slowly with the gentle rise and fall of the terrain. Elsweith sits quietly near the hearth, her hands resting in her lap. The embers glow faintly, throwing a soft, warm light across the room. Her children sleep peacefully beneath thick blankets, faces relaxed, breathing slow and even. She inhales the faint scent of wood smoke, warm bread from earlier in the day, and the subtle freshness of night air drifting through the open window. Her husband lies beside her, completely still, breathing deeply. The rhythm of his body is calm, steady, in tune with the quiet pulse of the home. Outside, the village breathes gently. Oxen rest in their shelters. Small animals move quietly in the shadows. Trees sway lightly, leaves brushing against one another in the faint night breeze. Tomlin checks his oven one last time for the day. The stones retain a gentle warmth, comforting and steady. He steps back, listening to the soft hush of the village around him. Every sound, an owl in the distance, the faint rustle of leaves, the occasional drip of water, blends seamlessly into the calm night. The blacksmith sits beside his forge, hands resting on his knees. He listens to the faint echo of distant movements, a bird calling, the wind brushing against rooftops, and the quiet stirrings of life outside. He allows himself to relax fully, feeling the slow rhythm of the village settle into his body. The weaver smooths the last threads of her cloth, folding it carefully. Her hands move slowly, deliberately, with awareness. She leans back slightly, listening to the soft breathing of her home, the gentle crackle of embers, and the faint movements of night creatures beyond her door. Outside, the mist rises faintly from the fields, curling around posts and low stone walls. Dew clings to the leaves and grass, reflecting the pale light of the moon. Each ripple in the puddles mirrors the silver sky above. The village is held in quiet motion. Every element, human, animal, or natural, moving at its own measured pace. Children shift slightly in sleep but remain undisturbed, breathing in harmony with the calm of the home. Aveline dreams of the gentle curves of puddles, the soft patterns of rippling water, and the quiet flow of life around her. Her younger brother dreams of fields, oxen, and the slow rhythm of daily work. Elsweith rises quietly to stoke the hearth once more, coaxing a small, gentle flame. The warmth spreads softly through the room, She watches the flickering shadows play across walls and ceiling, observing how every movement of light and shadow is slow and deliberate, in harmony with the village's rhythm. Her husband shifts slightly but remains asleep. He dreams calmly, unaware of the subtle motions that mark the night, the rise and fall of smoke, the curling of mist, and the faint sounds of animals moving in the distance. Tomlin adjusts a small piece of wood in his oven, ensuring it burns slowly and evenly. The smell of warm bread mixes with the scent of damp earth and wood smoke. He steps outside briefly, feeling the cool night air and observing the silver glow across rooftops and fields. The blacksmith listens once more to the faint rhythm of the village, a small animal brushing against a fence, distant water dripping, leaves shifting in a gentle breeze. He breathes in slowly, letting the calm of the night fill him. The weaver folds her hands over the cloth beside her and leans back, feeling the gentle pulse of life in the house and beyond. Each sound, movement, and breath contributes to a steady, soothing rhythm. Outside, oxen breathe softly in their stalls. Mist rises slowly from the fields, moving lazily across rooftops and past low walls. The air is cool but not harsh. Stars glimmer faintly in the sky. The moon reflects off the small puddles, shimmering softly before fading. The village is quiet but alive in subtle motion. Each heartbeat, each breath, each small movement contributes to the slow, steady rhythm of life. Fires glow low, embers flicker gently, smoke rises in thin spirals, and the faintest stirrings of animals are barely audible. Every home, every field, every path is part of the greater harmony, held in calm balance. The villagers rest fully, secure in the rhythm they know, steady, deliberate, and profoundly comforting. The night deepens fully, unbroken, serene. Shadows stretch and fade. Moonlight spreads evenly across rooftops and fields, and the mist curls lightly along familiar paths. The rhythm of life continues, quiet, slow, and deliberate, preparing the village for another day, another sunrise, another cycle of calm, ordinary life. Every breath, every heartbeat, every flicker of light or movement is part of this gentle, continuous rhythm. The village is alive, yet fully at rest. The night, the mist, the fires, and the soft breathing of animals and humans alike combine into a calm, steady pulse that will carry through to morning. And as the hours pass silently, the village remains peaceful, every life within it moving slowly, gently, and deliberately in harmony with the soft, unhurried rhythm of this medieval world.